Hi book babes, welcome back to another video. I am so excited for today because I am going to be talking about all of the 2025 romance books that I am anticipating this year. I was originally going to do just one video on all of the books that I'm looking forward to, but when I looked at the whole list of books that I had written out, there were just too many. So I decided that it would be really fun to do a mini series where I break down all of the books that I'm looking forward to into genres. And that way I can talk about each book that I'm looking forward to without it being like an hour and a half long video. So today I'm going to be talking about all of the 2025 releases for romance books. And these aren't all of the romance books I want to read. These are just kind of like the top 10 because I've either read the author before or they're books that I've always wanted to read the author. And so I thought that this would be like a pretty good way to organize, my top 10 selections for romance reads. So without further ado, here are my top 10 2025 new releases for romance. Okay, so these are not in the order of the books like that I want to be reading them in order. It's more just I've organized it based off of release date. So the first book that comes out this year that I'm looking forward to is Wild Side by Elsie Silver. This is book number 3 in the Rose Hill series. Now, I actually haven't read any of this series yet. I picked the first book in this series, Wild Love, in my February TBR video, which I will link in the description if you're interested in what other books I picked for that video. Now, I'm a bit hesitant for this series. First of all, I would be lying if I said the cover didn't kind of play into why I want to read this series so bad. I'm such a sucker for pretty covers, especially like illustrated covers like this one. I definitely judge a book by its cover in this sense. I know that there is an alternative cover for this series. I'm not really a fan of it. So if it was just that cover, I probably wouldn't even bother picking up the series. But because it's so pretty, I really want to read the series. And also, I do like a good romance that has like a lot of different tropes to it. I think that this one has the billionaire trope, as well as kind of like the best friend's sister trope and the forced proximity trope. But I'm hesitant because I do worry that this is going to be a little too cheesy for me. I tend to shy away from a book when the romance gets a little too unrealistic for me. When it comes to a romance, I do find that I need to see the relationship build up. I guess I like a slow burn. I don't like it when the relationship is immediate attraction and they would love and die for each other all of a sudden out of nowhere. And so that's what I'm worried that this series is, but I still want to try it. I still want to give it a shot. So I have Wild Love, which I'll be reading this month. And I know that the second book, Wild Eyes, came out last year. Another gorgeous cover. And then the third book, Wild Side, comes out on March 1st. So the trope here is a marriage of convenience. It's about Tabby and her new husband, Reese, who I guess is also her enemy. And somehow their marriage helps Tabby to maintain guardianship of her nephew. I'm not really sure how that equates to guardianship, but there you have it. And it's basically like he's this brooding, mysterious guy and she's determined to hate him. But it seems like he turns out to be a pretty decent guy and he protects her and her nephew. And presumably she falls in love with him in the process. So yeah, sounds cheesy. I mean, the whole series sounds cheesy, but it could be something that I could get behind. Sometimes I like if I go into a romance knowing the cheese factor, then I enjoy myself because I am expecting it. So I'm looking forward to the whole Rose Hill series in general. But the third book in the series, Wild Side, does come out March 1st. Okay, so the second book on my radar is another cheesy romance, a very Hallmark romance. Universally loved or hated, it can't be both, is the Dream Harbor series. Most famously in the series is book number 1, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Now this book, just broke the internet when it first came out. Everyone was comparing it to the Gilmore Girls, which I think is so funny that the author of this series is Lori Gilmore. I don't know if that's like a pen name or not. It seems kind of convenient. But this series, the Dream Harbor series, is like straight up cheese. This is a Hallmark movie in a book for sure. Now, there are 3 books out in the series so far. There is the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, and the Christmas Tree Farm, which just came out in October. And the fourth book, The Strawberry Patch Pancake House, is coming out on March 13th. I also want to mention that the fifth book in the series, The Gingerbread Bakery, is also coming out this year, I think in September. So that one is also on my radar. Now, I actually haven't read the first two books in the series. The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, funnily enough, is also on my February TBR. But I read The Christmas Tree Farm first because I kind of I had finally had time for this series in the wintertime, and this one had just come out, and I kind of wanted to read it around Christmas time, so that's why I decided to read this one first. And I also heard that even though the worlds are interconnected, you can read them as standalones pretty much. But I do like to read interconnected series in order just because I like to hunt for the Easter eggs that kind of get dropped throughout the series. So I plan on reading the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore before I pick up the Strawberry Patch Pancake House, and of course before I pick up the Gingerbread Bakery. So looking on Goodreads, the tropes for the Strawberry Patch Pancake House are single dad, forced proximity, slow burn, found family, and one bed. So kind of fitting a lot of tropes in there. So this is about Archer and Iris. I know that Iris is briefly mentioned in the Christmas Tree Farm. I don't know if she's mentioned a lot more in the Pumpkin Spice Cafe or in the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. But from what I remember, she goes through a lot of different jobs throughout the town of Dream Harbor. She just is always looking for a new opportunity. And I guess in this book, she gets hired as the nanny for Archer's daughter, Olive. And love blossoms between the single dad and the nanny. So yeah, lots of cheesiness, but as I said before, if I manage my expectations and I know there's a lot of cheese, I tend to enjoy the book a lot more. And when I'm looking at the tropes for the Gingerbread Bakery, I'm seeing enemies to lovers, found family, small town, and forced proximity. So this one is about Annie and Mac's love story, and I know that they're mentioned throughout the Christmas Tree Farm, but not really in detail. I think we get to know their personalities a little bit more in the previous books. There's also the wedding of Jeannie and Logan, who I think are the main characters in the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. So that comes to fruition, and I think that the wedding also takes place on the Christmas Tree Farm. So there's a lot of characters being reintroduced. So I think it sounds really good. I am most looking forward to the Gingerbread Bakery over the Strawberry Patch Pancake House because I think the wedding aspect makes it a lot more fun. And it's kind of a place for all of the characters in the series so far to appear. So the Strawberry Patch Pancake House comes out March 13th and the Gingerbread Bakery comes out sometime in September. Next is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I became a fan of Abby Jimenez last summer when I read all three books in her Part of Your World series. Book number 1 was Part of Your World, book number 2 was Yours Truly, and book number 3, which was my favorite, was Just for the Summer. And the reason that I like Abby Jimenez is that she really does a good job at sticking to popular tropes, but also reducing the cheese factor and as also the spiciness factor. I mean, her books, for me at least, they have the right amount of spice. They make sense for the storyline, but they don't overpower the book or the story or their relationship. So Say You'll Remember Me comes out April 1st. This is about Samantha and Xavier. Xavier is her dog or her cat's, I think it's her dog's vet. That's another thing I like about Abby Jimenez. She always has like an animal factor to the story. There's always like a pet, like a pet goat or a dog or something involved in the story. And so I really like that because I love dogs. So Samantha meets Xavier and they go out on a date, and Samantha decides that she cannot be dating right now because there's some family issues going on at home and she needs to be available for her family. So she begs him, I guess, to forget her. And I think what happens is he can't do that. So I think that they fall in love in the process. So it sounds really good. I'm looking forward to it. I just feel that Abby Jimenez just does it so well. A really good summer beach romance read. She just does it so well. And I also really like the cover. She always has a dog or an animal on the cover of some sort. So that's an important factor for me, of course. So looking forward to it. Say You'll Remember Me comes out on April 1st. Next is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, coming out April 22nd. I'm particularly excited for this one because I just read Funny Story by Emily Henry and I absolutely loved it, which was great for me because the only other book I've read by her was beach read, and while I enjoyed it, it just wasn't my favorite, so I wasn't sure that I was a fan of Emily Henry. But after reading Funny Story, I'm a huge fan. And actually, People We Meet on Vacation is also on my February TBR. I had picked this one because they're filming the movie for it right now, and I really just wanted to prepare for it and kind of know the story ahead of time. But Great Big Beautiful Life sounds really good. This is about Alice and Hayden. They are both writers, and they are kind of competing for a chance to win the rights to write a biography that is apparently a career-making biography. It's like they are fighting for the chance to write about this particular woman's story. And this woman is kind of making them compete with each other to see who actually gets to write her story. So I think there is a bit of forced proximity here. There's enemies to lovers, and I think a little bit of grumpy sunshine. So I think it sounds really good. I think that Emily Henry is very talented writer. Even when I read Beach Read, I still felt that that her writing was really good. I obviously love Funny Story. I'm looking forward to People We Meet on Vacation, and I can't wait to read Great Big Beautiful Life. So yeah, so this one does come out April 22nd. Next is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. This comes out on May 6th. I also read Carly Fortune for the first time last summer. I read This Summer Will Be Different, and I absolutely loved it. I gave this one a 5-star. I've said this before, but it's kind of like an Abby Jimenez book, but more serious, like less cutesy, more real romance. And I loved it. I ate this up. I also have Meet Me at the Lake. I haven't read it yet. It's on my TBR cart. I plan on reading it this year. And can we just have a moment for these covers? I mean, I just love this like watercolor look. It's so pretty. And One Golden Summer is no different. I love this like blue cover because then we have like the pink cover, we have like the yellowy orange cover, and then now we'll have like this beautiful blue cover. I just think they look so pretty together. So this is about Alice and Charlie. When Alice was a teenager, she used to visit her grandmother who lived on a lakeside home. And Alice has all of these nostalgic memories of growing up, going to her grandmother's house in the summertime and seeing Charlie. He was just kind of like this guy that I think she maybe like thought like had a crush on him. I'm not really sure. But now she's older and she decides to go and stay with her grandmother for the summer because her grandmother broke her hip and she wants to go help her. And Charlie is still there, but now he's all grown up. And I don't know much more than that. I just know that this is the start of their love story. But if I know anything about Carly Fortune, it's that she writes an amazing love story. I mean, she is like, based off of, This Summer Will Be Different, I think that she writes a very it's like Nicholas Sparks style love story. Like her books will be movies one day. I fully believe that. So I'm really looking forward to One Golden Summer. It sounds like the perfect beach read, and it comes out on May 6th. Next, we have The Love Haters by Catherine Center. This comes out on May 20th. Now, I've never read Catherine Center before, but I know that some of her really popular books are the rom-commers and The Bodyguard. I think the rom-commers came out last year. But I've heard really good things about Catherine Center's books, and I've been meaning to pick one up for quite a while. So maybe I'll start with this one, and if I really like it, I'll reach for the rom-commers. So this is about Katie and Hutch. Katie is a video producer, and Hutch is a Coast Guard rescue swimmer. And Katie lands like a career-making gig to profile him. And I guess one of the requirements to do this profile is that she needs to be able to swim, and she cannot, but she lies and says she can. And I think Katie and Hutch get romantically involved, and there's all of these consequences that come out of that. So I'm excited. I hope I love it because I would love to have another romance author on my regular reading list. So looking forward to The Love Haters coming out on May 20th. Next, we have It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. This comes out on May 27th. I've never read Annabelle Monaghan, but she's written a few pretty popular books. Nora Goes Off Script, same time next summer, and last year she released Summer Romance. All of her books have pretty good reviews on Goodreads, and I've heard quite a bit about them on social media. So that makes me all the more excited to get into her as an author. In It's a Love Story, we have Jane and Dan. Jane is a former childhood TV star who now works for a production studio, and she's trying to get her first movie project greenlit to be produced. And Dan is a cinematographer, and I guess Jane also used to have a crush on him. But now I think they're rivals, or maybe they're enemies. And Jane gets a little in over her head by by lying about getting a famous singer to write the soundtrack for her movie, when really this singer did not promise that. And I think somehow Dan ends up helping Jane accomplish this goal in some way. So it sounds fun, I think it may be enemies to lovers, maybe forced proximity since they're both filming the same movie. And I'm looking forward to finding out the other tropes in this book, but I think it's going to be really good. So It's a Love Story coming out on May 27th. Next, we have Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston coming out on June 17th. I read Ashley Poston for the first time in the fall of last year. I read the 7-Year Slip, and I know that this book is loved, but it just felt a little flat for me. I thought that the premise was really interesting. I liked kind of this magical realism aspect. You don't get that a lot with some romances, but I just felt like it was executed a little flat for me. It wasn't horrible. I wasn't I don't like this book. I just wasn't that interested in it. But that's the only book I've read by Ashley Poston. I know that she's also written a novel love story, which I have on my TBR cart. So I am looking forward to this one. I heard that this one is very, also just very Gilmore Girls. I heard that you kind of stepping into a Stars Hollow type town. So that sounds really fun for me. I usually read about 3 or 4 books of an author before I decide whether or not I don't want to read them. The 7-Year Slip doesn't make me want to read more Ashley Poston, but I still want to give her a shot because I know that she's so loved. And it could be another Emily Henry type thing. I wasn't the biggest fan of Beach Read, but then I read Funny Story and I just fell in love with her as an author. So I'm going to read a novel love story. And even if I don't like that one, I still want to read Sounds Like Love. So Sounds Like Love is about Joni. She is a pretty successful songwriter, but she has writer's block. So she goes home to North Carolina for a change of scenery, and she meets this musician who I guess is having some problems of his own, and they agree to write a song together even though they don't seem to get along very well. So there's some enemies to lovers, maybe forced proximity, just needing to write the song together. And I think there's also some grumpy sunshine in it as well. I think he's kind of gruff and grumpy, but I guess the music that he writes is beautiful and happy. So hopefully this isn't a spoiler for you, but I'm pretty sure they fall in love. So I am excited to read it. I mean, Ashley Poston just has so many famous romance books out there, so she has 7-Year Slip. I think she also has The Dead Romantics, if I remember correctly. I think that's one of her books as well. So she has a lot, and I'm just I really want to like her because I want to read these books and I really want to enjoy them. So I hope to read it and enjoy it. Now, the next one is an author that I've actually never heard of, but the cover caught my eye, of course. It is Totally and Completely Fine by Alyssa Sussman, coming out on July 8th. The cover is just gorgeous. I love this cover, and I looked at her other books and they have really great covers too. We have Funny You Should Ask and Once More with Feeling. I just love a good cover, so I really hope that I just like this author so I could just buy her books and just have the covers because I just love them. So Totally and Completely Fine is about Lauren and Ben. Lauren is a recently widowed single mom whose brother is a movie star, and she meets Ben, who is an actor on the set of her brother's new movie, and they are instantly attracted to each other. And I think Lauren's grief just kind of complicates things for her relationship with Ben. I think that it's supposed to be a fling, but it turns out to be something more serious, and she's kind of grappling with that effect on her and her life and her daughter's life. So it seems that there is a bit of a serious aspect to this. It's not just rom-com, and I have no idea about any of Alyssa Sussman's other books, so I'm looking forward to just kind of diving into this one and seeing if I like it, which I'm really hoping to. So Totally and Completely Fine comes out on July 8th. And that was the last book on the top 10 on my radar of 2025 new romance releases. I'm really looking forward to all of these. I really hope I get the chance to read them all. I would say right now my top choice is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, just because I loved Funny Story so much that I'm just itching for another Emily Henry. And the premise also sounds really good. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end it here. In the coming weeks, I will be posting more of this little mini series of all the different genres and all the books in 2025 that are being released that I'm looking forward to. I'll be doing fantasy, mysteries, thrillers, all the good stuff. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a video from me. I post all book videos, book hauls, book reading vlogs. All my book reviews, I'm making it a goal to review every single one of my books that I read this year. So that's really fun for me because I get to actually talk about the books I read instead of just giving a quick summary. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.